The Room VR Dark Matter on PSVR1 has always been a favorite of mine, scoring a 9 out of 10 on the rigorous yet simultaneously incomprehensible without parole rating scale. It's an escape room game that, unlike fan favorite I Expect You to Die, actually does real-life escape rooms justice, meaning you'll end up having to do a series of tasks and interpret a bunch of clues to take just a few steps forward. But does the newly released PlayStation VR2 version improve it all on the PSVR1 original, and is it worth picking up today? Well, I played them both back to back in order to find out. Okay, let's take a look at my original review, back from March 2020 to see what's changed. From the moment I dropped into a Dark Matter's world, I knew it would be something special. These aren't abstract, nonsensical puzzle rooms with no basis in reality. For the most part, these are familiar locations: police station, museum, church, and farmhouse, but with something sinister lurking just beneath the surface. That's not to say the puzzles themselves aren't ridiculous and completely over the top, because they are. That's sort of what escape rooms are all about. But the Room VR manages to meld the familiar with the ridiculous into a game that's spooky and ominous as hell, but never actually scary. I know this will only apply to some of you, but if you're like me and you already played this game, I was really happy to find out how much I'd forgotten. The locations were all burned into my memory, but the puzzle solutions themselves weren't. So even though I don't consider the Room VR to have much replay value, apparently taking a 3-year break from the game was enough time to make it worth playing again. And once I started playing, I felt the room's claws slowly pulling me back in. The story in A Dark Matter is 100% serviceable, but for the first few stages I couldn't stop thinking of myself as Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, following my father's Grail diary with each page leading me closer to the truth. It's not the story we've been given, but it's the closest I've come to breaking through a library floor on the hunt for a religious artifact. And like Indiana Jones before, the room enjoys dabbling, then diving headfirst into the supernatural. Early on, you're given detective vision glasses. Dark vines and tentacles appear to remind you that you're never really safe. Ghostly apparitions help tell the story and reveal new pieces of the puzzle. And while I won't spoil anything for you, things go from a little weird to all hell breaks loose in just a few hours' time. There's not much to add here, really. The story holds up, and you can take it or leave it, depending on just how much of the lore you want to absorb. The narrative, although always present, never gets in the way of the gameplay. Everything in the Room VR looks, feels, and sounds great. The environments are detailed and convincing. The sound design is spot on, with music only playing during pivotal moments, which accentuates the ambient noises during the hours of quiet puzzle solving. The environments on PlayStation VR2, at first, didn't seem all that different to me. In fact, my initial impressions were that this is the exact same game I played 3 years ago. But going back and playing the PSVR1 version again quickly revealed a huge difference in both resolution and contrast, making this PSVR2 upgrade seem more significant than I originally thought. Both the DualShock 4 and Move controllers give a real tangible sense to manipulating the puzzles around you. Even the inventory system is fast and efficient. The room isn't easy, but what's harder than the puzzles themselves is resisting the temptation to pull the hint tabs. Luckily, each hint has 3 tiers, so if you only need a slight push in the right direction, then you can still solve the puzzle on your own, without being force-fed the answer, although the answers are there if you need them. Shockingly, the Move controllers did a decent job of providing haptics when interacting with different items in each stage, giving the Sense controllers only a minor edge here. Even the adaptive triggers feel a bit underutilized, really only ever making their presence known when making menu selections. It's worth noting that the PlayStation Store says you need a bunch of space to play this game using room scale, about 40 square feet, but I'm a little perplexed by this. You can play the entire game sitting down or standing up, and you never have a reason to step even a single foot in any direction. So personally, I think you can ignore that warning. Most of you know that I'm an advocate for full locomotion and smooth turning in VR games whenever possible, but the Room VR offers none of that, instead opting for a node-to-node teleportation method with click turning only. But here it works, and for multiple reasons. There's a lot of aimless wandering when you're racking your brain, tirelessly trying to figure out how different aspects of the escape room work, so it's a much faster way to travel. But more importantly than that, it only allows you to teleport to key areas of the room, so if it's not essential, you'll simply never be standing in front of it. It's an elegant solution that I'm honestly still a little torn on, but trust me when I say that if the Room VR had full locomotion and allowed me to explore every insignificant corner, it would have taken me an extra 10 hours to finish. and not in a good way. I can already hear people grumbling about this, but I do have to agree with my 2020 self here. I really don't like teleportation or click turning of any kind. It kind of kills the immersion for me normally, but the Room VR really is the exception to the rule. It makes sense here, and yeah, I'm curious how the game would have been received and how it would have turned out if it had full locomotion, but that's a conversation we've had over the years, probably one too many times. My only disappointment was actually partially my fault, because the trophy list implied there were 6 puzzle rooms, but in actuality there's only 3 fully realized ones, with the other 3 being fairly short either tutorial stages or epilogues to help flesh out the story. But even still, what's here took me over 5 hours, and I was mesmerized by every moment. There's a lot of escape room games on PlayStation VR, but the Room VR is absolutely one of the best. If you already bought the Room VR Dark Matter on PSVR1, you'll be happy to know that not only is the PSVR2 version a free upgrade, but it also holds up exceedingly well on our new headset. The mood, atmosphere, puzzles, and even the story all spoke to me in ways that most games can't, and I'm thrilled that it found a new home on PlayStation VR2. The Dark Matter is a must-have for any puzzle fan.